Welcome to the Make It Make Sense series from Northwest Access Fund, where we try to make sense of complicated benefits questions. Today, we're talking about work incentives for SSI and SSDI. This is part 1 of 3, and we're talking about impairment related work expenses. This is Norman. Norman gets Social Security Disability Insurance, or SSDI. And this is Nancy. Nancy gets Supplemental Security Income, or SSI. They're both working and want to learn more about work incentives, which are special rules that allow people receiving SSDI and SSI to work and keep their benefits. First, may I recommend to you, Norman, the Make It Make Sense video on SSDI work phases. That'll be helpful. And you, Nancy, you should watch the Make It Make Sense video on SSI and work. Now you should both understand the basics of how work will impact your benefit. SSI and SSDI share some work incentives and have some that aren't shared. We're going to talk today about impairment-related work expenses. We'll talk about special conditions and subsidies in Part 2, and the student earned income exclusion and blind work expenses in Part 3. All right, y'all. SSI and SSDI both have impairment-related work expenses. Let's see if you have any impairment-related work expenses, or IRWEs. IRWEs are things you pay for that are related to your disability and allow you to work, like medication, assistive technology, durable medical equipment, and other expenses. Norman pays $50 for medication every month. He's wondering if this is an IRWE. If it is an IRWE, he'll be able to subtract $50 from his countable earned income. We're going to ask 3 questions to figure it out. Number 1, is the expense related to Norman's disability? Number 2, is the expense needed for work? Number 3, did Norman pay for the expense himself? Norman answered yes to all 3 questions, so this expense is an IRWE. That means $50 will be subtracted from his countable earned income. Norman will need to keep receipts and submit them when he reports his wages to the Social Security Administration. Nancy recently paid $1,200 to install a ramp in her house so that she can leave her home to get to work. Let's ask our 3 questions again. Is the ramp related to Nancy's disability? Is the ramp needed to work? Did Nancy pay for the ramp herself? Nancy answered yes to all 3 questions, so this expense is an IRWE. $1,200 is a pretty big expense. Nancy can claim this as an IRWE for 1 month, or she can average it out over a 12-month period. 1,200 divided by 12 is 100, so Nancy can subtract $100 a month from her countable earned income for 12 months. Nancy will need to keep receipts and submit them to the Social Security Administration when she does her wage reporting. Let's look at one more expense. Norman has an assistive technology device that helps him communicate. It cost $800. Insurance paid for part of it, and his mom paid the rest. Let's see if this is an IRWE. Let's ask our 3 questions again. Is the device related to his disability? Does he need the device to work? And did he pay for the device himself? Norman's device is related to his disability, and he does need it for work, but he didn't pay for it. So this expense is not an IRWE and can't be subtracted from his countable earned income. We'll talk about special conditions and subsidies in Part 2, and about the student earned income exclusion and blind work expenses in Part 3. Thanks for watching the Make It Make Sense series, Work Incentives.